A millionaire catches his maid eating leftovers. What he does next will shock you. The New York night fell heavy over the Upper East Side as William parked his BMW at the automatic gate of the brownstone. It was 11 o'clock, and he wasn't supposed to be there. The meeting in Stamford had been cancelled at the last minute, something about pending documents that wouldn't be resolved until Monday. A 2-hour drive back to discover he had the weekend free. The kitchen lights were on. Strange. Sarah always turned everything off before leaving at 9. William entered through the side door, his steps muffled by the Italian wool rug. The sound came first, a restrained, stifled sob, the kind someone makes when they don't want to be discovered. His heart quickened. When he rounded the corner into the gourmet kitchen, time stopped. Sarah was sitting on the travertine marble floor, her back against the lower cabinets, knees drawn to her chest. Between her trembling hands was a plate of leftovers. She ate quickly, mechanically, like a frightened animal afraid of having its meal stolen. Silent tears streamed down her face, but she didn't stop eating. "Sarah?" William's voice came out louder than he intended. She froze. The plate nearly slipped from her hands. Her eyes widened in pure terror, and William realized something that made him sick to his stomach. She was afraid of him. Not surprised. Afraid. "Mr. Williams, I didn't know you were home." Sarah tried to scramble to her feet, but her legs didn't seem to respond. The plate clattered dangerously. "I'll clean this up right away, I promise. I was just—" "Why are you eating on the floor?" William took a step forward, his hands raised in a placating gesture. "Sarah, what's going on?" "Nothing, sir. Everything is fine." She finally managed to stand, but kept her eyes fixed on the floor. Her hands shook so much the plate rattled. "I'll go home now." "I'm sorry for the trouble." "Trouble?" William felt a heavy weight settle in his chest. "How long have you worked here? Almost 2 years? And you're apologizing to me for eating?" Sarah didn't answer. Her lips trembled, and William saw her bite her lower lip hard, as if trying to stop more tears from falling. It was then that he noticed the details. Her hands weren't just shaking, they were stained with sauce. She was eating with her hands. There was no fork, no napkin, and the plate. William recognized that plate. It was from the expensive dinnerware Jessica had bought on her last trip to Paris, but the edges were chipped. "Sarah," his voice was softer now, "please tell me what happened. Are you okay?" "Yes, sir." The answer was automatic, robotic. "May I go now?" He wanted to say no. He wanted to demand answers. But the way she cowered, as if expecting a blow at any moment, made William back off. "Of course, but, Sarah, you don't have to eat on the floor. Ever. Understand?" She nodded quickly but didn't meet his eyes. She placed the plate in the sink so hastily she almost dropped it, grabbed her worn bag from the hook near the service door, and practically ran out. William was left alone in the brightly lit kitchen, the hum of the Sub-Zero refrigerator the only sound in the silence. Something was very, very wrong here, and he had a terrible feeling he should have noticed sooner. The master bedroom door opened upstairs, and light footsteps descended the spiral staircase. "Honey, is that you?" Jessica's voice echoed through the hall. "I thought you weren't back until tomorrow." The meeting was cancelled. William didn't take his eyes off the kitchen. "Jessica, did you see Sarah tonight?" "I did. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, wearing a white silk robe, her blonde hair in a messy bun. I asked her to heat up my dinner again because it got cold." "Why?" "She was crying, eating on the floor." Jessica shrugged, grabbing an imported bottle of water from the fridge. "It's probably just her issues. You know how those people are. So dramatic. Those people." William looked at his girlfriend as if seeing her for the first time, and he didn't like what he saw. 24 hours earlier, Sarah was wiping the kitchen's marble countertop with precise circular motions when her stomach rumbled. It was 8:30 at night, and she hadn't eaten anything since breakfast. Lunch had been skipped, Leo had a fever, and she had to rush from work to pick him up from school. She returned an hour later, with the boy at home under the care of her sister Emily, and hadn't had time to eat. Now, alone in the mansion while William was traveling and Jessica was at the spa, Sarah looked at the platter of shrimp risotto left over from dinner. Would it be a problem if she ate a little? There was so much food, and Jessica always threw the leftovers away anyway. Sarah served herself a small portion on a plate, grabbed a fork, and sat down at the dining room table. The first bite was an explosion of flavor: butter, garlic, white wine. She closed her eyes, savoring it. When was the last time she'd eaten something so delicious? The sound of the front door opening made her jump out of her chair. "Sarah," Jessica's voice echoed down the hall. "Are you still here?" "I'm just finishing up, Miss Thorne." Sarah quickly put the plate in the sink, but she wasn't fast enough. Jessica walked into the kitchen, her Louboutin heels clicking on the marble. She stopped short, her blue eyes fixing on the dirty plate in the sink, then on Sarah, then on the platter of risotto. "Were you eating?" The question was low, dangerous. I didn't have lunch today, ma'am. My son was sick and—" "At my dining table?" Jessica took a step forward, and Sarah instinctively stepped back. "You were sitting at my table, eating my food, using my dishes? It was going to be thrown out, I thought." "You thought wrong." Jessica crossed her arms, her voice taking on a coldness Sarah had never heard before. "You know what your problem is, Sarah. You forget your place." Sarah's blood ran cold. "Ma'am, you are not part of this house." Each word was like a blade. "You work here. You are not a guest, not a friend, not family. You are the help. You serve, clean, cook, and disappear. That's what I pay you for." "I know that, ma'am. I just—" "Don't interrupt me." Jessica moved closer, so close Sarah could smell her expensive perfume. "You want to eat? Eat at your own home, or eat here, but standing up in the kitchen like the other maids do. You do not sit at my table, ever. Understood?" Sarah nodded, tears already burning her eyes. "And another thing." Jessica picked up the plate from the sink and looked at it with disgust. "This plate is now chipped. It was part of a set that cost $5,000. It's coming out of your salary." $5,000. More than 3 months of her salary. "Please, Miss Thorne, if you want to keep working here, don't cross the line again." Jessica threw the plate into the sink, where it shattered in half. "Now clean up this mess and go home. I'm tired of looking at you." Sarah waited for Jessica to leave, waited for her footsteps to disappear up the stairs, waited for the bedroom door to slam shut. Then she sank to her knees on the marble floor and cried. But she needed to eat. Leo depended on her. She couldn't fall apart, couldn't give up. So she did what Jessica told her. She took the leftovers, put them on a disposable plate, and sat on the floor to eat. Because that was her place now. That was the price of survival. That was how William found her, 24 hours later. Still sitting on the floor, still obeying, still broken. How could he possibly understand? How could someone who had everything understand what it was to have nothing? Sarah woke at 5 in the morning, as she did every day. The one-bedroom apartment in the Bronx was tiny, but it was clean and organized. Leo slept in the bedroom, and she slept on the pull-out couch in the living room. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. She made coffee, prepared her son's school uniform, and looked out the window. Down below, the street was already coming to life. The baker opening his shop door, the newsstand owner arranging magazines, the city waking up for another day of struggle. 3 years ago, everything was different. Sarah closed her eyes and allowed herself to remember. The modest but cozy house in Queens. Mike coming home from work at 6 in the evening, still in his blue MTA bus driver uniform. Leo running to hug his father. Simple but happy dinners. Plans to one day buy a bigger house. For Sarah to go back to school, maybe get the degree she'd always dreamed of. Education. She wanted to be a teacher. It all ended on a rainy night on the BQE, an out-of-control truck. Mike never stood a chance. The bus driver died on impact, leaving behind a 28-year-old widow and an 8-year-old son. What came next was a blur of pain and desperation. The pension didn't cover half of their expenses. The debts piled up. Sarah sold everything, the house, the car, the furniture, the memories. She moved into the tiny apartment with just 2 suitcases and a traumatized son who stopped speaking for 3 months. She did every job she could find, sold cupcakes at the school gate, cleaned offices at night, did laundry for others, but it was never enough. Until Emily, her sister, got her the recommendation for the housekeeper position at a businessman's mansion on the Upper East Side. "It's good pay, Sarah," Emily had said. "You'll be able to support Leo properly." And it was true. $2,500 a month plus a Metro card. By Sarah's current standards, it was a fortune. So she swallowed her pride, put on the black and white uniform, and went to work for people who spent more in one night than she earned in 3 months. William was different at first. Polite, respectful, even kind. He called her Mrs. Miller, asked about Leo, gave her a Christmas bonus. Sarah almost believed it could be like this. A decent job, a decent boss, until Jessica showed up. William's girlfriend was everything Sarah wasn't. Tall, blonde, thin, rich. She came from a family of entrepreneurs, had studied abroad, and had an Instagram with 200,000 followers, and she treated Sarah as if she were invisible. For the first few months, it was just indifference. Jessica didn't say hello, didn't say thank you, didn't make eye contact. She'd ask her to redo tasks that were already done. She criticized everything. The food was bland, the clothes weren't ironed perfectly, the bathroom wasn't sparkling enough. But Sarah put up with it, because she had to. Because Leo needed a new uniform, school supplies, medicine when he got sick. Because the rent didn't pay itself. Then came last night, the final humiliation, and Sarah realized she had crossed an invisible line. Jessica no longer saw her as an employee. She saw her as a threat. But a threat of what? Sarah didn't understand. She was just a housekeeper, a poor widow with a son to raise. What else could she possibly be? Leo stirred in his room and Sarah pushed the memories to the back of her mind. She didn't have time for self-pity. She had a son to feed and a job to keep, even if that job made her eat on the floor like a dog. William didn't sleep that night. He stayed in the living room, an untouched glass of whiskey on the coffee table, his eyes fixed on the ceiling. The image of Sarah on the kitchen floor was seared into his mind like a brand. At 6 in the morning, he made a decision. He went down to the garden, where Mr. Johnson was already watering the plants. The gardener was a 60-year-old man who had worked there since before William bought the house, a man of few words, but who saw everything. "Mr. Johnson, I need to talk to you." The old man looked up, the hose still in his hands. "Yes, Mr. Williams. It's about Sarah." William stuck his hands in his pockets. "I'm noticing some strange things. Have you noticed any problems?" Mr. Johnson slowly turned off the hose. He dried his hands on his worn apron and sighed deeply. "Mr. Williams, it's not my place to talk about other people's lives. Please, I need to know." The gardener looked towards the house, as if checking to see if they were alone. "Ms. Thorne doesn't treat Sarah well, sir. It started about 6 months ago. At first it was just looks, you know. But then," he shook his head. "One day I saw Ms. Thorne throw out food just because Sarah had made it. Said it was bland, but I had tasted it. It was good." William felt his jaw tighten. "What else? She makes Sarah do things over and over. Clean the same room 3-4 times. And the poor woman does it, because she needs the job. She's got the boy to raise on her own, you know." Mr. Johnson scratched his head. "But the worst part, Mr. Williams, is the way she talks to her. Treats Sarah like she's less than human, you know. Why didn't you ever tell me? It's not my place, Mr. Williams. And I need the job too. I have 3 kids and 5 grandkids." The old man looked him in the eye. "But since you're asking, I think you should pay more attention to what happens in your own house." William went back inside, his blood boiling. He went up to his office and turned on the computer. The mansion had security cameras in all the main rooms: living room, kitchen, hall, exterior. He never looked at the recordings, but they were all saved to the cloud for 90 days. He started reviewing the past few months. He fast-forwarded through the monotonous parts: Sarah cleaning, cooking, tidying. But then he started to notice the moments with Jessica. The first scene that shocked him was from 2 weeks ago. Sarah was waxing the living room floor when Jessica came in with 2 friends. One of them bumped into the bucket, spilling dirty water on the freshly cleaned floor. Sarah hurried to clean it up again, but Jessica stopped her. "Just leave it wet. She'll be back tomorrow to do it right." The friends laughed. Sarah lowered her head and left. Next scene, 10 days ago. Sarah serving dinner to William and Jessica. She placed the plate in front of Jessica carefully, but a grain of rice fell on the tablecloth. Jessica picked up her napkin and threw it in Sarah's face. "See? Incompetent." William had been there, at the table, and he saw nothing. How did he not see it? More scenes. Jessica making Sarah clean the bathroom at 11 at night because there was a hair in the shower. Jessica making Sarah taste the food before serving it to make sure it's not poisoned. Jessica laughing with friends while Sarah ironed clothes a few feet away, clearly hearing every malicious comment. And the worst of all, the one from 3 days ago. Sarah tripped and dropped a tray of glasses. None broke, but Jessica exploded. "You're an animal, a stupid, incompetent fool. I should fire you right now." Sarah froze, her eyes wide. Then she knelt on the floor and began picking up the glasses with shaking hands. William turned off the computer. He felt sick. How had he allowed this to happen under his own roof? How had he been so blind? And then came the realization that hit him like a punch to the gut. He knew why. Because he was too busy building his empire. Because he trusted Jessica. Because he assumed everything was fine. And because this was the truth he had been avoiding for months. He had feelings for Sarah that he shouldn't have. From the first day she started working there, something about her had touched him. The quiet, dignified way she moved through the house. the dedication with which she did every task, the rare smiles that lit up her face when she talked about her son. William had tried to suffocate those feelings. He had thrown himself deeper into his relationship with Jessica, had traveled more, had kept his distance, but the truth was inescapable. He was in love with his housekeeper, and Jessica knew it. 2 days later, Sarah was frying potatoes when the oil spattered. She jumped back, but not quickly enough. The boiling liquid hit the back of her left hand, and the pain was instant and blinding. Sarah bit her lip to keep from screaming. She ran to the sink and put her hand under cold water, but the skin was already red and blistering. "Sarah, I heard a noise." William walked into the kitchen and froze when he saw the situation. "My God, what happened?" "Nothing, sir. Just a small accident. Let me see." He moved closer, but she pulled back. "It's not necessary, sir. I'll put some ointment on it and—" "Sarah," his voice was firm but gentle, "you need to go to the hospital. That's a second-degree burn." "I can't, sir. I don't have the money for—" "I'm taking you now." Before Sarah could protest, William was already grabbing his car keys. He guided her to the garage, opened the passenger door of the BMW, and waited for her to get in. Sarah had never been in such a luxurious car. The leather seat was softer than any bed she had ever slept on. Lenox Hill Hospital was 20 minutes away. William drove in silence, but Sarah could feel him glancing at her. Quick, worried looks, as if he were trying to solve a puzzle. At the hospital, a doctor examined the burn and shook her head. "You'll need a special dressing and antibiotic ointment. You're lucky it wasn't more severe." William paid for everything without batting an eye, $400 that Sarah could never have afforded. When they got back to the car, he finally spoke. "Sarah, we need to talk." She felt her stomach sink. This was it. He was firing her. "Sir, I promise I'll work faster. The burn won't slow me down. I can—" "It's not about that." He turned in his seat to face her. "It's about what I saw the other night. You, eating on the floor." Sarah closed her eyes. "Mr. Williams, please." "And it's about the security cameras. I saw it, Sarah. I saw everything." The world stopped. "You saw? The way she treats you, the humiliations, everything." His voice was thick with emotion. "And I am so sorry. I'm sorry I didn't realize it sooner. I'm sorry I allowed this to happen in my house." Sarah didn't know what to say. No one had ever apologized to her before. No one had ever validated her pain. "Why didn't you tell me?" William asked softly. "Because I need this job." The words came out simply, honestly. "I have a son, Mr. Williams. He needs to eat, to go to school, to have a roof over his head, and I have no one but my sister. If I lost this job—" Her voice broke. "I don't know what I would do." "You're not going to lose the job." William touched her shoulder lightly. "But things are going to change, I promise." Sarah wanted to believe him, but she had learned the hard way that promises don't fill your stomach or pay the bills. Still, something in those brown eyes made her hope. Jessica decided to throw a party, an intimate gathering, with 10 of her closest influencer friends. Sarah spent 2 days preparing everything: French canapes, imported wines, Instagram-worthy decorations. Her hand still hurt from the burn, but she didn't stop. The apartment buzzed with high-pitched laughter and cell phone flashes. Sarah served the trays discreetly, trying to be as invisible as Jessica liked. "More champagne here." One of the friends, a redhead with enormous false eyelashes, held out her empty glass without even looking at Sarah. Sarah filled the glass and moved on to the next one. That's when she heard it. "Seriously, Jess, how can you stand having live-in help? Aren't you scared?" The question came from a brunette with straightened hair. Jessica laughed. "She doesn't live here, Julie. She comes in the morning and leaves at night." "Still." Julie looked at Sarah as if she were inspecting livestock. "I don't know. I have cameras everywhere. Just a tip. Relax. Sarah is harmless." Jessica winked. "She came with the house like the furniture." The laughter erupted. Sarah felt her face burn, but she kept her expression neutral. She continued serving. "But seriously," another friend chimed in, "is she any good? Because my current one is a disaster. Can't even fry an egg right." She'll do." Jessica shrugged. "Nothing exceptional, but she gets the job done. And the best part, she knows how to stay quiet. Doesn't try to make small talk or anything. Just does what she's told and disappears." Sarah put the empty tray in the kitchen and leaned against the sink. "Breathe, breathe. Just a few more hours." "Sarah!" Jessica's voice startled her. "Come here, we need more food." When Sarah returned to the living room with a new tray of snacks, she realized all the women were looking at her. "Julie was just saying you seem like a nice person," Jessica said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I told her you're very professional. You know your place, right? How long have you worked here? Julie asked Sarah directly. Almost 2 years, ma'am. And you like it? Sarah hesitated. Jessica was glaring at her. Yes, ma'am. Look at that, Jess. She even calls you ma'am. A platinum blonde cackled. Mine just calls me by my first name. I hate that. It's a matter of training, Jessica retorted. Some people know the value of hierarchy. Others don't. It was then that the front door opened. William walked in, his tie loosened, jacket over his arm. He stopped when he saw the party, confusion clear on his face. Honey, I didn't know you'd be home early. Jessica jumped off the sofa and ran to kiss him, but he dodged her. You didn't tell me you were having a party. It was last minute. The girls wanted to get together. She pulled on his arm. Come on, come meet everyone. But William's eyes had already found Sarah. She was huddled near the wall, tray in hand, her face red. He knew that look. He'd seen it on the cameras. What's going on here? His voice was low, dangerous. Nothing, honey. Just Sarah. He turned to her. Are you all right? It was too much. It was the last straw. Sarah felt the tears start, and this time she couldn't hold them back. The tray trembled in her hands. Oh, for God's sake, now she's going to cry. Julie rolled her eyes. So dramatic. What? William spun around so fast Julie shrank back. What did you just say? William, calm down. Jessica tried to intervene. Calm down. His voice boomed through the room. You are all humiliating an employee in my house, and you want me to calm down? The silence was absolute. 10 influencers with thousands of followers were struck dumb. Sarah has worked here for 2 years. 2 years taking care of this house, cooking, cleaning, organizing. And you, he pointed at the group, you have the audacity to sit there and treat her like she's nothing? William, you're overreacting, Jessica began. Enough, the shout echoed. Enough of pretending I don't see. Enough of turning a blind eye. He turned to Jessica's friends. Get out, all of you. But William, now. They scrambled to leave, grabbing designer bags and stumbling in high heels. In 2 minutes, the room was empty. Only William, Jessica, and Sarah remained. You just humiliated me in front of my friends, Jessica hissed. I humiliated you? William took a step toward her. Me? You've spent months humiliating Sarah, and I'm the problem? She's the maid. She's a person. The shout came out raw, desperate. A person you've treated like garbage. A person I let you treat like garbage. Jessica looked between William and Sarah, and something in her expression changed. Something dark and understanding. Oh, she let out a bitter laugh. Now I get it. Get what? You're in love with her. The world stopped. Sarah felt the floor disappear from under her. No, this couldn't be happening. I'm going home, she whispered, but no one paid attention. Have you lost your mind? William ran a hand through his hair. Jessica, this has nothing to do with... It has everything to do with it, Jessica screamed. Do you think I'm blind? You think I haven't noticed the way you look at her? The way your voice changes when you talk to her? The way you always take her side? I take the side of what's right. No, you take her side because you're in love with her. And you know what? I've known for months. Jessica stepped closer to him, her eyes shining with angry tears. Why do you think I treated her that way? Why do you think I was so cruel? The confession landed like a bomb. William stepped back. You mistreated Sarah because you were jealous? No, I mistreated her because she was trying to steal my boyfriend, playing the poor victim, when she was actually manipulating you the whole time. Enough! Sarah finally found her voice. She was trembling, but the words came out firm. Enough. I'm not going to listen to this. Jessica turned on her. Oh, you have a voice now. You're defending yourself now. I never wanted anything from Mr. Williams. Never. Sarah looked at her with a dignity that made Jessica flinch. I just wanted to work, earn my salary, and support my son. I never, ever did anything to deserve what you did to me. Sarah, William started. And you, sir? She turned to him, tears finally falling. You should never have let this happen. If you really cared about me, you should have noticed sooner. You should have protected me sooner. The silence that followed was devastating. You're right, William said quietly. You're absolutely right. I can't believe this. Jessica let out a hysterical laugh. You two are perfect for each other. Two pathetic victims. She grabbed her Chanel bag and headed for the door. You can have her, William. You can have your Cinderella story. But when you get tired of playing the hero, don't come looking for me. I won't get tired, William said, and something in his voice made Sarah look at him. Because for the first time in years, I'm doing the right thing. Jessica stopped at the door. When she turned, there was something broken in her eyes. I loved you, you know. I really did. But you never looked at me the way you look at her. Never. And then she was gone, the door slamming behind her. William and Sarah were left alone in the party-wrecked room. Between them, 6 feet of distance and an abyss of social differences. Sarah, don't. She held up a hand. Please, Mr. Williams, don't make this any harder than it already is. Harder? Sarah, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Her voice was tired. You have feelings you shouldn't have, and I'm a housekeeper with a son to raise. This could never work. Don't say that. It's the truth. Sarah finally let her frustration out. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment in the Bronx. You live in a mansion on the Upper East Side. I ride a crowded bus for 3 hours every day. You drive a BMW. We live in different worlds. I don't care about that. But I do. The confession came out like a cry. I care because I've lived long enough to know that love doesn't pay the bills. Love doesn't put food on the table. Love doesn't guarantee my son will have a future. William took a step forward. What if I can guarantee all of that? What if I can take care of you and Leo? Then what would I be? Your charity case? Your pet project? Sarah shook her head. I've been humiliated enough, Mr. Williams. I won't trade one kind of humiliation for another. That's not how I see you, but that's how the world will see us. She grabbed her bag with trembling hands. And I'm past caring what the world thinks, but I won't put my son in that position. He's suffered enough. Sarah, please, I need to leave, and you need to let me go. She left before he could answer. And for the first time since it all began, Sarah felt something other than fear and humiliation. She felt free. 3 days passed. Sarah didn't come back to work. William called, sent messages, but she didn't respond. He thought about going to her apartment, but Mr. Johnson advised against it. Give her time, Mr. Williams, the lady's been through a lot. But on the morning of the 4th day, the doorbell rang. William rushed to answer it, and there she was. Sarah, in her clean, pressed uniform, her worn bag over her shoulder. I came to work, she said simply. Sarah, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I need the salary. She walked past him and entered. And we need to set some rules. They sat in the living room. Sarah kept her hands in her lap, her back straight, the posture of someone who has made up her mind. I'm going to keep working here because I need the money, she began. But things need to be professional. Only professional. Sarah, let me finish, please. She took a deep breath. I know you said things in the heat of the moment. I know the situation was intense. But now, with a clear head, we both know this can't happen. I wasn't in the heat of the moment. Mr. Williams, I'm in love with you. The words came out simple, honest. I have been for months. Since the day you started working here. Sarah closed her eyes. You barely know me. I know you wake up at 5 a.m. to make your son breakfast. I know you read to him every night, no matter how tired you are. I know you cry on the bus because you think no one is watching. He leaned forward. I know you wanted to be a teacher. I know your dream was to teach in a public school, to make a difference in the lives of kids like you once were. Sarah stared at him, stunned. How do you know that? Because I pay attention. Because every time you talk about Leo, your eyes light up. Because you leave children's books in the kitchen, and I know they're not for you. William smiled sadly. Because I've spent the last few months watching you, even when I tried not to. That doesn't change anything. It changes everything. He reached out his hand but didn't touch her. Sarah, I don't want you to be my employee. I don't want you to feel like you owe me anything. I just want a chance to get to know you for real. To show you that this isn't pity, it's not charity, it's real. And what if it goes wrong? Then we'll figure it out together. Sarah was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was laden with pain. I had a husband, Mike. He was a bus driver, made a decent wage, worked 12-hour days. She looked down at her hands. But he loved me. He really loved me. And I loved him too. We didn't have much, but we had each other. What happened? An accident on the BQE. Rain, an out-of-control truck, and suddenly I was alone with an 8-year-old son and no way to survive. Her tears fell freely now. I sold everything, Mr. Williams. Our house, our car, even our wedding rings. I sold the memories of the man I loved to feed our son. William felt his throat tighten. And you know what was the worst part? It wasn't the poverty, it wasn't the hunger. It was the way people started to look at me, as if I was less. As if being poor made me inferior. Sarah looked up at him. I swore I would never let anyone make me feel that way again. But then I came to work here, and Jessica did exactly that. And I let her, because I needed the money. You won't have to go through that anymore. How can you guarantee that? The question came out desperate. How can you guarantee that in a month, a year, you won't look at me and just see the maid? How do you guarantee your friends won't judge me? That your family won't look down on me? I can't guarantee what other people will do. William finally took her hand gently. But I can guarantee what I will do. And I promise you, Sarah, I promise to see you, to respect you, to love you the way you deserve. Sarah wanted to believe him. God, how she wanted to. But fear was stronger. I need time, as much time as you need. And things have to stay normal. I work, you pay me, and we keep our distance. If that's what you want. It's what I need. She stood up. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. William watched her leave the room, and for the first time in his life he felt real fear. Fear of losing her. Fear that she would never believe he was for real. But he would wait. He would wait as long as it took, because she was worth it. The following weeks were strange. Sarah worked. William respected her space, but there was a tension in the air. Not a negative one, just expectant, as if they were both waiting for something to happen. William hired another housekeeper to help Sarah. He reduced her hours to 6 a day, but kept her salary the same. In fact, he raised it. Sarah protested, but he insisted. You worked under unfair conditions for almost 2 years. This isn't a favor. It's back pay. Slowly the house became different. Without Jessica, there was a lightness. Sarah could breathe. She could sit at the table for lunch. She could use the main bathroom without fear. She could simply exist. And Leo started visiting on Saturdays. The first time William met the boy, his heart melted. Leo had his mother's eyes. Large, expressive, intelligent. He was too thin for his age, but he had a smile that could light up any room. So, you're my mum's boss? Leo asked bluntly. Leo? Sarah turned red. It's okay. William laughed and knelt to the boy's level. I am, but you can call me Will. My mom says you're nice, but she also says I have to be polite, so I'll call you Mr. Williams. Your son is incredible, William said to Sarah later. They were in the garden watching Leo chase butterflies with Mr. Johnson. He's everything I have, Sarah smiled, a genuine smile that William had never seen before. Everything I've done for the past 3 years has been for him. He knows that. Anyone who sees him for 5 minutes knows that. Leo came running back, his eyes shining. Mom, Mr. Johnson said there's a big oak tree in the back. Can I go see it? You can, but be careful. The boy shot off. Sarah shook her head, but she was laughing. He's never had a real yard. Our apartment barely has a window. What if he did? Sarah looked at him. What? A yard. A backyard. A place where Leo could play freely. William was nervous, but he pressed on. I have another property, a smaller house in Midtown East. 3 bedrooms, a yard, a garage. It's been empty for years. Mr. Williams, it's not a favor. It's not charity. He took a deep breath. It's an investment. You're a smart woman, Sarah. You always wanted to study, right? What if I paid for your college? Education. You could be the teacher you always dreamed of being. Sarah was speechless. And in return, he continued quickly, you would live in the house, take care of it. When you graduate, you could work in any school you wanted. You could have a real life. Why are you doing this? Because I can, and because it's the right thing to do. William gently took her hand. And yes, because I love you. But even if you never loved me back, I would still do this. Because you deserve it. Sarah felt tears well up again. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. I'll think about it. 3 days later, Sarah accepted. The move happened within a week. Sarah and Leo now had a real house. With a yard, with separate bedrooms, with space to live. Leo cried with happiness when he saw his new room. It's mine? All yours, sweetie. Sarah started college the following month, an education degree at Columbia University, evening classes. William insisted on paying for everything, tuition, books, transportation. She tried to refuse at first, but eventually accepted with the quiet dignity only she possessed. I will pay you back, every cent. You don't have to. Yes, I do. For myself. The weeks turned into months. William and Sarah grew closer slowly, carefully. Occasional outings, movies, the park, art exhibits. Always with Leo, always respectful. Sarah started to laugh more, to dream more, to believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved to be happy. It was on a Saturday afternoon, 4 months after the move, that the doorbell rang. Sarah opened the door and froze. Jessica was there, but it was a different Jessica. No heavy makeup, natural hair, simple clothes. She looked smaller, more human. "Hi, Sarah. What do you want?" Sarah's voice was hard. "To talk, just for 5 minutes, please." Sarah hesitated but finally opened the door. They sat in the small living room, a careful distance between them. "I came to apologize," Jessica began, her hands trembling. "And I know an apology isn't enough. I know nothing I say will erase what I did." "No, it won't. I know." Jessica took an envelope out of her pocket. "But I needed you to know the truth, the whole truth." She held out the envelope. Sarah took it cautiously and opened it. Inside was a letter. The handwriting was William's. "Sarah, it's been 3 months since you started working here, and I have to confess something that's been killing me. I'm in love with you, with the way you care for this house as if it were your own, with the dedication you have for your son, with the quiet strength you carry. I know I can't tell you this. I know it would be inappropriate, but I had to put it on paper, even if it's just for me. You're the most incredible woman I've ever met, and I can never have you." The letter was dated over a year ago. "He wrote that and left it on his office desk," Jessica said quietly. "I found it, and instead of confronting him, instead of breaking up with him, I decided to destroy you." Sarah looked up, shocked. "I thought if I made you seem small, insignificant, he would stop seeing you that way. I thought if I humiliated you enough, you would leave, but you didn't. You endured." Jessica wiped away a tear, "and that made me even angrier. You tortured me because you were jealous?" "Yes, and because I knew he was right." Jessica sobbed. "You are incredible, Sarah. You always were, and I could never compete with that. Not with my shallowness, not with my cruelty." Sarah didn't know what to feel. Anger, pity, both. "There's one more thing." Jessica took a deep breath. "The burn. It wasn't an accident." The world stopped. "I had seen William watching you in the kitchen days before, the way he looked at you. It was love, pure and true. So I moved the pan to the edge of the stove. I waited for you to walk by. I gave it an accidental bump." Her voice was broken. "I wanted you to get hurt. I wanted to get you out of there, even for a few days. But William took you to the hospital. He took care of you. And that's when I knew I had already lost." Sarah was trembling. "You could have scarred me for life. I know. And I'll carry that guilt for the rest of my life." Jessica stood up. "I just wanted you to know the truth, for you to understand that none of what happened was your fault. It was mine, all mine. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm in therapy, because I'm trying to be a better person, and because you two deserve to start without lies." Jessica walked to the door. "William never knew about the letter. He doesn't know I read it. And he doesn't know about the burn. But you deserve to know. You deserve to make your choices with all the information." And then she was gone, leaving Sarah alone with the letter and with revelations that changed everything. Sarah called William that night. "I need to see you now." He arrived in 15 minutes, his face worried. "What happened? Is it Leo?" Jessica was here. The name made William freeze. "What did she want?" "To give me this." Sarah handed him the letter. She watched as he read it, saw the recognition hit him. "Sarah, you wrote this over a year ago." "Yes." He didn't deny it. "And it was true. Every word. Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because it would have been inappropriate. Because I was your employer. Because you already had enough problems without a confused boss declaring his love." William ran a hand through his hair. "I tried to forget. I swear I tried. But the more I got to know you, the more I fell in love." And Jessica saw the letter. "How do you know?" Sarah told him everything. About the jealousy, the psychological torture, the burn. When she finished, William was pale. "She did what?" "The burn wasn't an accident, it was on purpose. I'm going to kill her." William stood up, but Sarah stopped him. "No, she's already paying. With the guilt, the shame, what she's become." Sarah took a deep breath. "But I needed you to know. I needed there to be no more secrets between us." "There are no secrets." He knelt in front of her. "Sarah, I love you. From the first day. And I'll love you whether you love me back or not. I'm scared. I know. I'm scared you'll get tired of me. That one day you'll wake up and realize you could have any woman and you chose the maid. You were never the maid. You're Sarah, Leo's mother, a future teacher, the strongest woman I've ever met." William held her hands. "And yes, you worked in my house, but that doesn't define you, it never did. What if we don't work out? What if we do?" He smiled. "Sarah, I've spent my whole life building an empire. Money, properties, businesses, but none of it matters if I don't have someone to share it with, and I want to share it with you." Sarah felt the walls she had built begin to crumble. all the defenses, all the fears, all slowly melting away. "I love you too," the words came out in a whisper. "God forgive me, but I love you. I love the way you treat Leo. I love the way you see me. I love that you offered me dignity when no one else did. Sarah, but I don't want to be saved. I don't want to be your charity project." She looked him in the eye. "I want to be your partner, your equal. You've always been my equal. Then give me time. Time to finish college. Time to become the woman I want to be. Time so that when we're together, it's because we want to be, not because you feel sorry for me or because I need you." William understood, and he loved her even more for it. "As much time as you need. 2 years. Let me finish college. Let me start teaching. Let me build my own identity. And what if I ask for something in return? What? That you let me be present. That you let me get to know you and Leo. That you don't push me away completely." He smiled. "It can be as friends. It can be slow. But please don't cut me out of your life," Sarah thought. And then she smiled, a smile that lit up the whole room. "Friends. For now. For now." They sealed the deal with a hug, and for the first time, Sarah allowed herself to feel something other than fear. She felt hope. Epilogue. The next few months were transformative. Sarah threw herself into her studies with a dedication that impressed even her professors. William was an attentive spectator, always available but never intrusive. Occasional dinners, outings with Leo, conversations that stretched late into the night. They became true friends, the kind of friendship where you can be completely yourself. Sarah told him about her struggles in college, about demanding professors and endless papers. William shared stories about his business, about tough decisions and ethical dilemmas. And Leo blossomed. The boy who had been quiet and fearful now laughed loudly, played freely and dreamed big. He started calling William Uncle Will, and William couldn't think of a better title. "Uncle Will, do you think I can be an architect?" Leo asked one Saturday. "Think? I know you can." William ruffled the boy's hair. "You already draw better than a lot of architects out there." "My mom says I can be whatever I want." "Your mom is right. She always is." Sarah watched these interactions with a full heart. She saw how much William genuinely cared, how he never made empty promises, how he was simply present. It was on a November evening, 9 months after their pact to wait, that something shifted. Sarah was studying for an exam when William showed up with coffee and sandwiches. "I figured you could use some reinforcements. You're a lifesaver." She bit into the sandwich eagerly. "This educational psychology exam is going to kill me. You'll pass, you always do." They talked about the subject, about her plans for student teaching, about everything and nothing. And then, without meaning to, Sarah let it slip. "Sometimes I imagine, what it would be like if we, you know." William froze, his coffee halfway to his mouth. "You think about that?" "Every day." The confession came out softly. "I think about what it would be like to wake up next to you. I think about what it would be like to have a real family for Leo. I think about us." "Sarah, but then I remember I'm not ready yet, that I still need to prove to myself that I can stand on my own 2 feet. She smiled sadly. "It's frustrating." "What is?" "Knowing what I want, but not being able to have it yet." William put his coffee aside and moved closer. "Can I tell you a secret?" "Always." "I think about it too, every single day." He touched her face gently. "I think about kissing you good morning. I think about making breakfast together. I think about watching Leo grow up by your side. I think about spending the rest of my life making you happy." Sarah felt tears well up. "William, but I would wait another 10 years if I had to. Because when we're finally together, I want it to be forever. I want it to be because we both chose it, not because we needed it. What if I told you I'm almost ready?" "Almost?" "I have 1 year left to graduate, 1 year until I can start teaching, 1 year for me to be sure that I'm standing on my own." She took his hand. "And then, William Williams, if you still want me, I'll be yours. I will always want you. Then give me 1 more year, 1 year for me to completely find myself. And then," she smiled, "then we'll build our story. For real." William pulled her into a hug, and for the first time he allowed himself to believe that this was real, that they would get their happy ending. They just needed a little more time. The final year was a challenge. Sarah did her student teaching at a public school in the South Bronx, working with children from underprivileged communities. She often saw herself in those kids, the immense potential stifled by a lack of opportunity. She dedicated herself completely. She arrived early, left late, took work home. William supported her in every way he could but respected her space. He knew Sarah needed to do this on her own. It was during this time that the final test came. William's mother, Eleanor, asked to meet Sarah. The 65-year-old respected businesswoman and matriarch of the Williams family had heard things about her son. "They say you're involved with a maid," she said bluntly over dinner. "Mum, let her finish," Sarah interrupted calmly. She had prepared for this moment. Eleanor looked at Sarah with assessing eyes. "You worked in my son's house." "I did, ma'am. And now? Now I'm finishing my degree in education. I'm student teaching at a public school, and I live in a house that William has kindly lent me until I can afford rent on my own salary." "Kindly lent you?" Eleanor let out a dry laugh. "How convenient." "Mom!" William stood up. "Sit down, William." Sarah's voice was firm. "Mrs. Williams, I understand your concerns. I understand that you see a poor woman with no family name, with a young son, and you think I'm after your son's money. You're smart. I'll give you that." "I'm not smart. I'm realistic." Sarah leaned forward. "I know what people see when they look at me. They see the housekeeper who got lucky. They see the Cinderella who landed the prince. They see someone who doesn't deserve to be here." The silence at the table was absolute. "But do you know what I see when I look in the mirror?" Sarah continued. "I see a woman who lost everything and rebuilt from scratch. I see a mother who worked 3 jobs to feed her son. I see someone who endured humiliation after humiliation, but never gave up. I see strength. And my son. Your son is a good man, kind, generous, fair. He offered me opportunities I would never have had otherwise. And yes, I love him deeply." Sarah looked at William, then back at Eleanor. "But I don't need him. Do you understand? I want to be with him, but I don't need him. If everything ended tomorrow, I would be fine, because I know I can stand on my own." Eleanor studied Sarah for a long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, she smiled. "You've got guts, kid. I respect that." She turned to William. "She's too good for you." "I know, Mom." "Then don't mess it up." And just like that, another barrier fell. A year later, Sarah graduated. The ceremony was small but emotional. Leo in the front row, cheering when his mother's name was called. Emily crying with pride. William filming everything, a smile he couldn't hide on his face. Afterward, at a simple but cozy restaurant in Midtown, Sarah made a toast. To new beginnings, to second chances, to believing we can be more than our past. Everyone clinked glasses, and when William looked at Sarah, he no longer saw the broken woman he'd found crying on his kitchen floor. He saw a teacher, a mother, a survivor, a winner. "So," he began after everyone had left, leaving them alone in the garden of her house. "A year has passed." It has. Sarah smiled, that smile he loved. "And I did it. I graduated, I got a job, I'm paying my own bills." "You did it all. And now?" She took a step forward. "Now I'm ready." William's heart raced. "Ready? For us, to really start, to build something together." Sarah touched his face. "If you still want me, of course." "If I still want you?" William let out an incredulous laugh. "Sarah, I've waited 3 years. I would have waited 30 if I had to. You won't have to." And then finally, she kissed him. It was a kiss that held everything. The pain, the hope, the love, the new beginning. It was the kiss of 2 people who had found each other in the most unlikely of places. It was perfect. When they parted, they were both crying. "I love you," William whispered. "I love you too." And this time, Sarah smiled through her tears. "I'm not afraid to say it." Leo appeared at the door, yawning. "Are you guys crying? Is everything okay?" "Everything is perfect, sweetie." Sarah opened her arms, and the boy ran to her. William wrapped his arms around them both, and for the first time he felt complete. "Is Uncle Will going to live with us now?" Leo asked hopefully. Sarah and William looked at each other. "What do you think?" she asked. "I think that's awesome." And so, in a simple house in Midtown East, a new family was born. Not in the traditional way, not the way society expected, but real, true, and full of love. Months later, Sarah was in her first week as a full-time teacher when one of her students, an 8-year-old girl with mended clothes but a bright smile, raised her hand. "Miss Miller, are you married?" Sarah looked at the simple wedding band on her finger, a gift from William at their quiet City Hall wedding, and smiled. "I am." "And is he rich?" "He is." Sarah knelt beside the girl. "But you know what's more important? He's good. He's kind. And he respects me. Never accept less than that, okay?" The girl nodded, her eyes wide. When Sarah got home that night, she found William in the kitchen making dinner. Leo was doing homework at the table. The scene was domestic, ordinary, wonderful. "How was the first day?" William asked, stealing a kiss. "Perfect." Sarah hugged him from behind. "Absolutely perfect." And as she watched her son study, her husband cook, her home filled with love and laughter, Sarah realized something fundamental. The journey hadn't been about finding a Prince Charming. It had been about finding herself. The rest, the love, the family, the happiness, was just a consequence. And what a wonderful consequence it was.